I always imagined the moment I quit Silvertrack Media would be dramatic. Maybe I'd finally slam my badge down on Melissa's desk, give a speech about 5 years of thankless dedication, and walk out with the whole office slow clapping behind me. But reality rarely gives us the satisfaction of such theatrical exits. Sometimes it's just a silent room, an awkward email printout, and a woman with perfect nails sliding your termination papers across a polished desk. I hadn't seen it coming. Not that day. Not like this. Melissa's voice was calm, clinical, like she was reading the weather. "Claire, we've decided to terminate your employment effective immediately." I blinked. "Excuse me." She didn't blink. Didn't shift. "Your recent behavior suggests a breach of trust. We have confirmation you interviewed with Orion Tech last Thursday." That interview, the one I scheduled as a dental appointment, just to avoid office gossip. The one I almost canceled because I still held on to the fantasy that maybe, just maybe, Melissa would finally approve the promotion I'd been quietly begging for over 5 years. I wasn't fired because I failed. I was fired because I dared to want more. "I've given this company everything," I said, "but it came out quieter than I intended." "You've been compensated fairly," she said. "But loyalty is non-negotiable at Silvertrack." It wasn't just the words that cut. It was the way she said them. Like I was disposable. Like she'd been waiting for a reason. I didn't cry. That seemed to surprise her. Instead, I stood up, straightened my navy blazer, and offered a tight-lipped smile. "Understood." The security guard was already waiting outside the glass doors. Melissa handed me a small box she'd ordered from the office supply closet. "You can collect your belongings. We'll have your access terminated by noon." I carried that box down the corridor like I was holding a fragile version of myself. Photos of my niece, the cactus plant Jenna gave me in year 2, the award plaque that no one ever publicly acknowledged. 5 years of invisible effort reduced to a single 12 by 10 cardboard square. I passed by desks that had once felt like family. I didn't stop. But I noticed something strange. People looked away. Like my departure made them question their own place here. Like I caught a disease they might also have. The April sun outside felt too warm for what had just happened. I stood by my car, keys trembling slightly in my hand, staring at the building I had walked into nearly every morning for half a decade. The building where I learned how to pitch to billion-dollar clients, where I stayed late fixing other people's mistakes, where I held on to the hope that being good would be enough. It wasn't. My phone buzzed. A text from Jenna. "Claire, what the hell happened? Thomas just told me. Are you okay?" Thomas, the IT guy, must have seen my access get revoked. Word spread fast here. "I'm okay," I typed back. "I'll call you later." But I wasn't okay. Not yet. I drove home in silence. The city blurred past the windshield, but I wasn't seeing it. I was running timelines in my head. Rent, bills, health insurance, the logistics of sudden unemployment. I wasn't just dealing with rejection, I was grappling with identity disintegration. Back in my apartment, I placed the box on the kitchen counter and just stared at it. How did 5 years fit into a single box so easily? How did I not see the ending until it hit me in the face? It took 2 hours before I opened my laptop. There it was. The follow-up email from Marcus Lee at Orion Tech, subject line. "Final round discussion, can we chat today?" I stared at the timestamp. Sent 5 minutes ago. My mouth went dry. Melissa thought she was punishing me. What she didn't know was that I'd already left her orbit the moment I sat down in that interview room. I clicked reply and typed, "Hi Marcus. Today works. 2 p.m. is perfect." If you had asked me a year ago whether I was unhappy at Silvertrack, I probably would have said no. Not because I was particularly content, but because I didn't let myself think about it too hard. That's the thing with slow suffocation, you don't notice until you're gasping. The first time I asked for a promotion was after the Henderson account. I'd saved it from implosion by reworking the entire launch campaign in less than 3 days, bringing in over $700,000 in renewed spend. Melissa had congratulated me in front of the entire team, her manicured hand patting my back, her voice sweet as syrup. "This is the kind of hustle we need." I thought it was the start of something. It wasn't. When I brought up the idea of a title change just to senior account strategist, nothing grand, Melissa had blinked slowly and said, "Let's revisit in Q4. Budgeting is tight right now." I nodded then, not realizing I was setting a pattern I wouldn't break for 5 years. Q4 came. No promotion. But we had new ergonomic chairs and a fresh coat of paint in the conference room. The second time I came prepared. Decks, data, comparative salaries across the industry. My portfolio showed year-on-year client growth, record retention rates, and campaign ROI that had one industry mentions. Melissa didn't argue the data. She just sighed and said, "Claire, you're indispensable. But we can't afford to lose headcount to raises right now." She made it sound like a compliment. Like I should be honored to be so necessary I couldn't even be rewarded. I swallowed that too. Year 3, I landed 3 new clients in a single quarter, doubling our projected revenue. My work was cited by an external consultancy during an industry conference. I was asked to speak on a panel. Melissa declined on my behalf, claiming scheduling conflicts. That was the year I stopped believing a promotion would come. But I didn't leave. I stayed because of habit, because of loyalty, because I told myself I was too tired to start over. I stayed because Jenna made me laugh in the break room, because Peter brought cold brew every Friday, and because I still felt a rush when we landed a tough pitch. I didn't know I was trading my self-worth for scraps of familiarity. By year 4, even clients started assuming I was in management. I had built long-term relationships, nurtured fragile egos, negotiated 6-figure budgets. A startup founder once introduced me at a gala as one of the firm's directors. I didn't correct him. Melissa just smiled when she heard about it. "You're making us look good out there," she said. And that was it. I laughed it off, but something twisted inside me that night. It was in year 5 that something finally cracked. I'd just come back from a client crisis trip, 3 red-eye flights in 4 days, 0 sleep, and a successfully salvaged contract worth $2.4 million. Melissa sent me a thank you email. That's it. Just a digital great work, sandwiched between calendar invites. I remember staring at the email, blinking hard, wondering if that's all I was going to get for crawling through fire. That night, I opened my old resume file. It hadn't been touched in almost 6 years. Even seeing the font gave me a weird ache in my chest. I didn't know where to start, so I just started typing, Orion Tech, project lead for retention strategy. Role: advisory consultant on cross-sector integrations. It wasn't a lie. It was an insight into what I had been doing all along, unpaid. That was the first time I realized I had been doing more than just my job. I had been holding up an entire ecosystem with no credit. Jenna noticed the shift in me first. "You okay?" she asked one afternoon. "You're quiet lately." I shrugged. "Just thinking." "Thinking about leaving?" She said it like a joke, but her eyes were serious. "Maybe," I replied. She didn't ask more. She just gave me a slow nod and passed me her half of the caramel brownie. That's how she showed support. A week later, I saw a job posting on Orion's site. Director of Strategic Accounts. It wasn't just a bump. It was a leap. I read the description 3 times, heart racing. The qualifications. Everything I'd been doing for years. I applied at midnight, hands trembling, telling myself I wouldn't hear back. But I did. In 48 hours. Marcus Lee's email was short but warm. "Your work with the Farnell account caught our eye. Would you be open to a conversation?" That sentence did something to me. Like oxygen after 5 years underwater. I said yes, of course. Then I panicked. What if Melissa found out? What if they asked for references? But then I remembered. I owed Melissa nothing. She had built an empire on my silence. I was done being quiet. The interview wasn't in person. Just a Zoom call, framed like an exploratory conversation. Marcus was sharp, calm, and disarmingly human. He asked smart questions, not just about what I'd done but how I thought. He didn't once ask why I was looking, but I answered anyway. "I've been in the same role for 5 years without a title change," I said, "despite growing the department revenue by 300%. He nodded slowly. "That's not nothing." "No," I replied. "It's everything." But apparently not enough. He didn't blink. Just smiled faintly. "We see you, Claire. Let's continue this." The call lasted 52 minutes. I remember the exact time because after it ended, I sat on the floor of my living room for a while. No music, no distraction. Just silence and realization. I wasn't sad. I was angry. Angry for the time I gave. The weekends I worked. The birthdays I missed. The way I shrank myself so Melissa could shine. That night I didn't tell Jenna. I needed to hold it for myself a little longer, like a secret garden growing inside the ruins. The next day, back at Silvertrack, Melissa pulled me aside after the morning meeting. "Claire, do you have a moment?" I followed her into her office, expecting another mentorship chat, the ones where she used a sweet voice to justify corporate gaslighting. But this time her tone was different. "We have some concerns," she said, placing a printed email on the desk between us. My name, Orion's name, a timestamp from Thursday. My stomach dropped. She knew, and I knew what was coming next. But I didn't flinch. Not anymore. The email came in at 8:47 p.m., just as I was pouring a glass of wine. Subject line: Request for meeting board follow-up. Sender: Elaine Winters, Senior Board Member, Silvertrack Media. I blinked. Read it again. I didn't know Elaine personally. She existed more as a whispered name, the woman who made decisions with a raised brow and a four-word sentence. People said she only appeared when money or lawsuits were involved, but she wanted to meet with me. "I understand there was an incident today regarding your employment," the email read. "I would like to discuss it personally. Are you available tomorrow morning at 9? I stared at the screen glass hovering midair. They weren't done with me. Not yet. Part of me wanted to delete it, block the domain, move on with my new reality. But another part, the one that still trembled from the injustice of the day, wanted clarity, maybe even closure. I typed back, "Yes, I can be there at 9. Thank you." The next morning, I dressed differently than usual. No dark navy, no soft taupes. I wore steel gray, tailored clean lines, a soft blouse with sharp cuffs. No apologies in fabric. When I walked into Silvertrack's lobby, even Jessica, the receptionist, did a double take. "Claire, I didn't expect." "I'm here to meet with Ms. Winters," I said, signing the visitor log. Her voice dropped. "Everyone's talking about how wrong it was. You were the best of us." I nodded. "Thank you, Jess." The elevator felt smaller than usual, like the walls were holding their breath. The conference room upstairs was already occupied by a woman with silver hair and a precise bob cut, flipping through a folder. "Miss Monroe," she said, standing. "Thank you for coming." We shook hands. Her grip was firm, controlled. The folder had my name on it. "I've reviewed your personnel file," she began without pleasantries. 5 years. Outstanding reviews. Documented revenue growth. 3 formal requests for salary adjustment. Denied. I said nothing. She looked up and her tone sharpened. I was not made aware of any of this. For the first time I saw something shift in her. A line between protocol and principle. "There's no documentation justifying your termination yesterday," Elaine continued. "No breach of contract. No policy against interviewing elsewhere. You were dismissed on the grounds of disloyalty." I finally spoke. "That's what Melissa said, yes." Elaine leaned back. "Miss Graves has had a great deal of autonomy. Too much, perhaps." She closed the folder. "Miss Monroe," she said slowly, "the board would like to offer you reinstatement at the salary level you last requested, plus 10%, and the title of Senior Account Director." It hit me like a slap. Not the offer itself, but the timing. 5 years of begging, explaining, carrying weight no one else would. And only now that I'd left, they suddenly found the budget? "That's generous," I said calmly. "But I've already accepted another position." Elaine tilted her head. "May I ask where?" "I don't believe that would be appropriate to share." Another pause. She folded her hands. "If this is about compensation, we're willing to be flexible." "It's not just about compensation," I replied. "It's about respect and being seen." For the first time, I wasn't trying to be liked. I was trying to be honest. Elaine regarded me for a moment. What could Silvertrack have done differently? I didn't expect that question, but I welcomed it. "Recognize my value," I said, before I had to go elsewhere to find it. Loyalty should go both ways, not just up the ladder. Her lips parted. Whether to object or agree I couldn't tell, but she nodded. And in that moment I knew she understood. Even if it was too late. We stood. She extended her hand again. Thank you for your candor. And your 5 years of service. I shook it firmly. When I left the building for the second time, I felt something I hadn't before. Weightlessness. Not relief. Not triumph. Just release. That afternoon, I sat by the window at a little cafe near my apartment, sipping coffee and watching people walk by. The city looked different. Not because it had changed, but because I had. I had been carrying so much. So many justifications. So much rationalization of mistreatment. I'd called it loyalty, growth, teamwork. But sometimes what we call loyalty is just fear of starting over. My phone buzzed. A message from Marcus. Excited to have you join us Monday. We'll have everything set up for you. Welcome aboard. I smiled. Later that evening, a message came from Jessica. Melissa's locked in her office. Word's out about your new job. Thomas says everyone's updating their resume. I didn't reply. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming something I'd almost lost. Myself. The Monday I started at Orion Tech, the sky was clear, not metaphorically but literally, like the world was trying to make a point. I arrived early, partly out of excitement, partly out of a need to own the moment. The building was a mix of glass, steel, and possibility. No beige carpets. No dim overhead lights. The air smelled like ambition. The receptionist greeted me by name. Welcome, Claire. You're expected upstairs. My new office had a door, and windows, and a view of downtown Austin that looked like it belonged to someone in control. It wasn't just the office that was different. It was how I felt walking into it. No performance mask. No fear of being watched. I belonged here. A sleek basket sat on the desk, welcome card, company mug, small succulent, and a handwritten note from Marcus. We're lucky to have you. Let's build something great. I smiled, touched it lightly, then pulled out my planner. At exactly 9 a.m., Marcus walked in with 5 people behind him. Team, he said. This is Claire Monroe, our new Director of Client Strategy. She'll be leading our external partnerships and marketing vendor relationships moving forward. The team looked curious, warm. I recognized 2 of them from past projects, good people. I introduced myself with clarity but no bravado. I didn't need to prove anything. Not here. After the meeting, I spent time going through past reports, onboarding docs, and the strategy brief for the upcoming quarter. It felt like opening a puzzle I was finally allowed to solve. No one hovered. No one micromanaged. Everyone assumed I knew what I was doing. That was the difference. Jenna texted during lunch. How's day 1? I replied. Not a single passive-aggressive comment. I feel like I'm in a different universe. She sent a gif of someone crying from joy. That afternoon, I had a one-on-one with Marcus. He asked how things were going, and I told him honestly it felt good. Unfamiliar, but good. By the way, he said as we wrapped up, we've got a vendor review meeting on Wednesday. The Silvertrack contract's up next month. I froze just slightly, but he didn't say it with weight. Just as a fact. You're leading that one, he added. You know their capabilities better than anyone. There was no revenge in his tone. Just trust. That was all it took to change everything. Wednesday morning came fast. The executive conference room on the 30th floor was filled with Orion's leadership, CFO, CMO, legal, and strategy. I presented 3 agency proposals, including Silvertrack's. Their pitch looked polished but thin, a repackaged version of their 2023 deck, with minimal evolution. I kept my commentary professional. Silvertrack's campaign results have historically been strong, but execution consistency has declined. They've had noticeable delays in response times, especially in the past 6 months. No one questioned it. Everyone had seen the metrics. I wasn't slandering. I was reporting. The CMO leaned forward. What's your honest assessment? I paused. Then, if the work came from Claire Monroe, it was excellent. If not, it was inconsistent. That speaks to a structural problem. No one said Melissa's name, but it hung in the air anyway. After an hour of discussion, the CFO nodded. We've reviewed the alternatives. Based on strategic alignment and delivery performance, we recommend transitioning the account to Meridian Creative. The vote was unanimous. Marcus turned to me. Can you manage the transition? I nodded. Yes. I'll coordinate asset handoff and notification. I'll draft the transition letter today. No applause. No smiles. Just decisions. But inside something shifted. Not vengeance. Just justice. Clean, quiet, professional justice. I waited until late afternoon. The office was quiet, most of the team gone. I pulled up a clean draft. Subject line: Notice of Transition Marketing Services. Dear Silvertrack Media, after careful consideration of our evolving marketing needs, Orion Tech Solutions has elected to transition its external marketing services from Silvertrack Media to Meridian Creative, effective immediately. We deeply value the contributions made during our partnership. Please coordinate with our strategy office to ensure all assets are transferred by Friday EOD. Sincerely, Claire Monroe, Director of Client Strategy, Orion Tech Solutions. I read it once, twice, then hovered over send. I didn't think about Melissa. I didn't imagine her face. I didn't wonder what people would say, because this wasn't about her anymore. This was about me, standing where I belonged, having earned the right to make the call. I hit send. Then I closed my laptop and sat back. The sun outside was low golden. It hit the glass like a promise. A year passed faster than I expected. Not rushed, not chaotic, just full. Full of meetings where my input wasn't just heard, but sought after. Full of days where I led campaigns, closed deals, coached new hires. Full of quiet mornings sipping coffee at my desk without bracing for someone to question my worth. Turns out healing isn't loud. Sometimes it's just the absence of dread. My calendar was filled but never suffocating. I set boundaries and people respected them. I spoke and no one interrupted. My ideas weren't hijacked mid-sentence. I built a team I was proud of, diverse in background, bold in thought. They thrived because I didn't try to control them. I gave them space and they gave me results. Jenna visited one Friday. She brought cookies and stories from her new role at a UX firm that actually gave her credit for her designs. You look lighter, she said, scanning my office. I feel it, I told her. She sat on the edge of my couch and laughed. I still remember you telling me you'd never leave Silvertrack. I didn't leave, I corrected. They kicked me out. Best decision they ever made for me. We clinked coffee mugs like champagne glasses. The past didn't vanish. It just grew quieter. Every now and then I'd get updates through LinkedIn, old colleagues, the occasional forwarded email. Silvertrack had lost 3 more major clients in 6 months. Their once busy office floor had a third of the staff it used to. Melissa was stepping down to pursue new ventures. No scandal. No headlines. Just quiet, polite collapse. And yet I didn't feel triumphant. Just still. Thomas messaged me once. Melissa's out. Her office is empty. No one even said goodbye. I stared at the message for a long time before replying. That's how empires fall, Tom. Quietly. After ignoring too many warnings. He replied with a single word. True. I didn't forward the message. Didn't post a celebratory update. Didn't bring it up over drinks. Because sometimes closure doesn't come with applause. It just arrives. And you let it in, then move on. It was a Saturday when I found myself walking past the Orion building on my day off. No reason. Just one of those wandering mornings where you follow the sun and your thoughts. I stopped across the street and looked up. 30 floors. The windows shimmered like quiet resolve. I remembered the girl I had been a year ago. Carrying a cardboard box, clutching shame, wondering if she'd ever breathe again. She had no idea what was waiting for her. She didn't know that the place she was being dragged from would be nothing compared to the one she was walking into. And now here I stood. Not in revenge. Not in bitterness. Just in peace. My phone buzzed. A notification from a professional newsletter. Top 50 strategic agencies of the year. Silvertrack Media, no longer listed. No drama. Just absence. I smiled and put the phone away. Because the best revenge isn't loud. It isn't cruel. It isn't even revenge. It's becoming everything they tried to silence. If you've ever given your all to a place that didn't see your worth, you're not alone. Claire's story isn't just about revenge. It's about rediscovery. So tell me, have you ever had to walk away just to finally be seen? Drop your story in the comments. I read every one of them.